Good afternoon, good morning, salutations to you, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're listening to me from. So far, you're on planet Earth. I'm saying welcome to this beautiful edition of the International Youth Day happening in the year 2025. And this has been broadcast and brought to you live from the studios of Project Enable Africa. Yay! Are you excited? Just as I am excited. Are you wondering who is speaking on the mic? My name is Oluwakemi Ojusoya. I identify as a blind lady resident in Nigeria, and I also work for Project Enable Africa as a community mobilization officer for the organization. And today, we are marking this year's International Youth Day to celebrate the spectacular, amazing youth with disabilities in the globe. Project Enable Africa is a development organization that is saddled with the responsibility to advance, promote, the right and inclusion of persons with disabilities in Nigeria and in Africa through various activities such as project implementation, legal inclusion, advocacy among stakeholders, and so many more. And Project Enable Africa is registered under the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Corporate Affairs Commission in Nigeria. At this juncture, I say welcome once again. And we are marking this year's Youth Day to celebrate youth empowerment for a sustainable future because this holds a very large meaning in the lives of young persons with disabilities in Nigeria and the globe. A population that is often excluded and also excluded in systems that shape our growth, well-being, and contributions. Today's conversation will not just explore the live realities of youth with disabilities across diverse impairments such as blindness, albinism, and physical impairment. But our major task here is to make sure that we reflect on conversations that hinders us from inclusive empowerment for youth with disabilities. That is why we're celebrating the International Youth Day. And I'm not here alone. I have beautiful, spectacular, guest panelists that will be talking on this discussion. But before we go further, for the purpose of those who are visually impaired or identified as blind persons and wondering, how does this person who is speaking, how does she look like? I am dark and chocolate in complexion. I wear a smile. I'm also putting on a spectacle. I have my natural hair in an Afro made style. And I'm putting on a green gown, which has some, flickerings on it in form of a leaf. You know, when you leaf, so they use the design to like make leaf on the dress. At this juncture, I would like to also welcome our wonderful sign language interpreter who is interpreting my verbal communication for the purpose of deaf or hard of hearing individual in no other person than Mrs. Adeshida. You see our fingers on the screen? Yes. And I'm saying welcome and clapping in a sign language way to her. So today's conversation will be diving from access to education, policy making, financial inclusion, and even the sustainable development goals. We will be doing this through the lens of our panelists, spectacular individuals. I won't be telling you who we have. First on the list, right? to support women, supporting women, right? We have Miss Jessica. She is an amazing inclusion advocate. Miss Jessica, say hi to us.
Hi everyone.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for saying hi to us. We have Mr. Oluwasegun Stephen, who is someone that deals with system working with Background Check International. He does verification of data. We have you, Mr. Olusegun Stephen. Say hi to us.
Hi, good afternoon, good morning, good night, everyone. I'm Steven. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Lest I forget, Miss Jessica is a lady with albinism. I think I mentioned that in our introduction. And Mr. Oluwasegun Stephen is someone with a physical impairment. The last but not the least, we have Mr. Isaiah Daniel, who is an entrepreneur with a visual impairment. Can you say hi to us?
Hello, everyone. Good day.
Okay, good day to you as well. And I'm so sure that you are getting prepared. To be sure that you have a fun time, I would advise you get a bottle of water beside you. Take some maybe biscuits or candies or snacks because I promise you it's gonna be a fun time because I am ready to catch fun. Remember, when there is no youth, definitely there's not gonna be a nation because inclusion is what we are talking about from the lenses of both the lived and professional experience. So let's dive into the conversation, which is critical to our understanding. But before we do that, do me a favor, like this content, drop your comment in the comment box and ensure that you share it because you never can tell who needs this information to move ahead with whatever project they are currently doing or they have in mind to do. So, are you ready? All right, let's do this. I'll start with Miss Jessica because you see, this conversation is going to dive from different angles: financial inclusion, education, accessibility. And I need us to share our experiences. But before we do that, you first introduce yourself. I just gave a very brief description. Introduce yourself, what you do, and what you hope for this conversation to be like. Let's start with Miss Jessica. I know I won't be able to pronounce your surname, so please do us the honor by telling us who you are.
Again, hi everybody. Thanks guys for coming. Can you hear me?
Can you speak a bit louder?
Hey everyone. Can you hear me now? Is this better?
Yeah, I think.
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Jessica Hysent. Hysent. I am a lot of things. I am a content creator. I am an albinism advocate. I run a business, a few businesses. I do design and resin art. But mostly through my life, through my lived experiences, and through the content that I share, I raise awareness about albinism and just basically educate people about the condition. And my hope is to inspire other people with albinism to live beyond the condition and beyond the limitation that this condition brings. So that's basically who I am. So for this conversation, again, when I saw the topic, I was so excited because it's not something that is delved into enough. So yeah, I'm excited about again raising awareness, educating, and hopefully providing useful information, yeah, to help better. Hello? Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, I did hear you. Thank you very much. That's very fantastic to know. And I think the very first question I would ask you, which you can take a lot of time, because we want to hear from your lived experience, right? Is what are the challenges you faced, right? Growing up as a lady with albinism, and also the challenges you face today as a beautiful lady with albinism in a country as Nigeria.
Okay. So for a start, I think growing up, I didn't believe that I believe it. Now don't get me wrong, like albino and all of that. But I used to understand that it was just a so most
Okay, Jessica, I can barely hear you. Can you try to maybe you're using an earplug? Maybe probably you need to remove.
let me try.
Yeah.
Okay, let me see that.
Can you speak now?
Hello.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Now I can't hear you.
Okay. You can
Can
hear
you
me
hear me now?
now?
Is it better?
Yes. Very, very better. Can you
Okay.
hear me? Yeah.
Okay. What I was saying. So I said, growing up, I didn't know what albinism was. I just thought that people used to say albino, affin. I just thought they were trying to insult me. I didn't know it was a proper condition. And which is weird to say because you would think that for somebody who is educated, and obviously I'm not the first person with albinism, so like you would think that there will be better information on the condition, but unfortunately, I did not have that growing up. I found out what albinism was through a post on Instagram when I was in my 300 level. And I was like, oh my God. It was such a discovery, and for me, it was just crazy. It just pointed out much of how much work needed to be done, in raising awareness about the condition, in basically just doing more work about educating people, because the things that I heard when I was growing up, people were constantly advising my mother, oh, make sure you don't give her salt. Oh, and then they used to say, oh, don't worry, she's not smart. People with albinism are not usually smart. And I'm like, my mother was like, no, that's not what's happening, because my daughter is actually quite smart. So I grew up with people constantly expecting or thinking that it was okay for me to perform below average. Um, People constantly calling names. I think it was a norm. And basically just myths about this condition that I was living with flying around, and wrong, very terrible, sometimes harmful information, flying around about this condition. It was not again like when I was in university that I started realizing that the things that I used to struggle with were not, they were not, I don't, I want to use, I'm trying to use the right word. They were not, I'm going to say normal because that's the only word that's coming to mind. But yeah, it was not supposed to be. It was basically a struggle. It was not a problem with me, or it was not a thing of me not trying hard enough. Like when I would sit in class and not be able to see the board, and then they would move me to the front, and I still wasn't seeing the board. And till today, I still struggle with wearing glasses because when I was growing up, I got to a time that I was wearing glasses, but I still couldn't see the board as clearly as others. So I'm like, okay, what is this pressure? To me, glasses was just pressure at that time. So I was not even, I did not want to hear anything about glasses or see glasses because it just felt like more pressure. So I hated writing notes. I would struggle to write notes. Um, I struggle to write notes. I would struggle to see the board. Even so, once the teacher is dictating notes, oh my God, that was my favorite. Any teacher that dictates notes, even when I was in primary school, that was my favorite teacher because I could actually follow in the class. So in my head, how I coped, I just realized, okay, I would wait after the class, I would read somebody's notes. I never had complete notes also. So yeah, it was just like little things, seemingly little things actually, that I struggled with, that was not paid attention to, and I started to see as normal, that I now realized that, okay, these things are not supposed to be like this. There are better ways that this could have been handled, that could have helped not just me, even but the people around me. And if maybe my teachers or my family knew better, I felt like it could have been, a little better, if that makes sense.
Wow, that's really wonderful because hey, it's a lot of lesson over there. And talking about youth, Mr. Isaiah, I'm gonna tweet, I mean, pass you the virtual mic right now for you to, answer this beautiful question. If you do not mind, you can like to sit because we see that you're standing, right? So that the capture will be very beautiful as well. So the question now, I'm just wondering, Miss Jessica talked about youths, I mean, persons with disabilities, the challenges, especially she as a lady with albinism, who strained her eyes to see, even when the glasses was so, seen as a very disturbing object. And I'm wondering, within the visual impaired sector, do you think or do you know that if there are a lot of youths with visual impairment in leadership positions? If there are, or if they are not, what do you think this means to the next generation? Because I'm just wondering, Ms. Jessica talked about the challenges, and with those challenges, do we even have visually impaired youths that are rising up to the leadership roles? And if yes, what does this mean to the next generation? If no, what does this also mean to the next generation?
Okay, thank you. There are, in as much as we have youth who are doing great things, who are successful in their endeavors, it is sad to say that we do not have, a reasonable number of these youths doing great things and wonderful things in their own corners, in position of leadership, basically. And of course, the reason is not far-fetched, that this is still, based on the segregation and discrimination that we still usually experience, in a place just like Nigeria itself. So let me just point out one or two examples. So, for example, a youth with disability may be doing great as an entrepreneur in his or her space, and by the time it's time to aspire, like other youth, you begin to see how what this individual is going to be, and that itself is a mental draining, like is quite discouraging, because if someone with a disability who is a youth is doing well in their field of endeavor, it is just as important to also replicate that strength, that ability they have, that they've used to grow up in business, to get an empire built, and also to affect the immediate community, immediate society, so that the entire community, will benefit, from it. So basically, these have a lot of difficulties for youth with disability coming behind, because if we don't stop or look for a final solution, to all these systemic barriers, try to demystify some of these concepts. Youth coming behind or those coming behind us will definitely face more challenges, in terms of when it comes to leadership and serving as role model to others. So there's need for us who are currently youth now to see how we can demystify these concepts, and see how to also create one of the challenge it also might be lack of awareness. The world we are, or the part of the world that we are as Nigeria, we are still struggling with awareness advocacy. Of course, there are lots of advocacy that are out there, but the question is, these advocacy awareness, are they getting to the grassroots, the rural environment, not just the urban areas? For example, for Musa staying in one part of Sokoto, and for Shagun staying in one part of Abeokuta or Ijebu, And in Nnamdi, staying in Abia State, one part of Abia State, in their locality, are there awareness, are there advocacy that talks about persons, or youth with disability who are doing great things or who have the potential of leadership? Do we have that that of advocacy? So
okay,
that.
Sorry, Mr. Zaya, I would like to cut you short because I know that this is a very passionate and sensitive topic. And I'm just wondering, with all what you've said, I want to be sure I heard you well, right? Because I got a question, in my inbox and was saying, oh, okay, I would like to know, can you mention like 3 youths with vision impairment that you feel they've attained leadership roles? If there are none, it's fine. If this is the reason why we're here. If there is, are you able to mention so that policies makers, we'll get to that. So are you able to mention any?
Well, not really, in part of the country, but at the global stage, at the African stage level, we have a very few number of them, who are members of parliament and stuff like that. At least we have one in Kenya. We have one in in the UK also, but in Nigeria here, as we speak, moment, I don't think I can point at
your fingers
or a youth with visual impairments who is the aim of our.
Beautiful, thank you for the clarification. And this actually makes me think, we talked about challenges from albinism. We've rolled the mic to visual impairment. And maybe there is something that we're actually not seeing. If albinism has to do with eye, visual impairment has to do with eye. Yes, I know the industry is an addition to albinism. Let's talk about another impairment, the physical impairment aspect. And this, makes me tilt the mic to Mr. Stephen. You are in a formal sector, a verification analyst working with an organization which is global. And I'm wondering, was it a rosy position to attain? Are there any strategies? Are there any strategies or any structures, rather, barriers that hindered you? What are those? I don't know if you get my question. If you didn't, I could recap.
Okay, please come again.
Okay, so now you are in a formal sector working as a verification analyst. And in that sector, not enough or not many youth with disabilities are found in that sector. And I'm wondering, are there still existing structural barriers? Any barriers that is even making youth with disabilities to attain both formal and informal sector?
Okay, yeah. My name is Stephen. Shout out to everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. Okay, I'm a physically challenged person. So for your question, it was not all rosy. So permit me if I go emotional in this, right? Because this topic is kind of passionate to me, and I'll be a bit slow because I talk fast because of my sister interpreting with the sign language. So, okay, it has not been that rosy. Before I got to this point, okay, I tried applying in several places of work. I went to the hospital sector. There was a time I went to a factory to submit my CV, and I was like, okay, please, I'm done with school. Can you please employ me? I can do this, I can do that. And firstly, the first appearance, just the way they look at me, was like, are you sure you can work? You that you are limping with one leg and the rest. So their countenance says a lot, like, you are not needed here. I had to go. I tried another place. Okay, please, if you can even do cleaning job, I can do this, I can do this. So they are concerned, like, we'll get back to you. I went back there, sir. You've not gotten back to me. We'll get back to you. And the next thing, like, it's not that we cannot get back to you, but you are not the type we need. So it was not all rosy for me, right? So I got my current place of work now. I work with BCI, Background Check International. Shout out to my MD, Dr. Olugbodi, which is also a person living with disability. I happen to know him in a program that was organized by Project Enable Africa. So I'm a product of Project Enable Africa, right? And that program lasted for 2-3 months, and Dr. Olugbodi was part of our facilitator. And somehow, it took interest in me. I said, okay, is it possible I'll come and work with him? And I can tell you for testimony, this is 3 years going, I'm still working with him. So like I said, so it was just because he came in to assist, I could have access to the formal sector. I could have access to working in the formal settings. So now, working in formal settings, so it is not to say it's not to say that, okay, has it been rosy there? Yes and no, right? So when I mean yes and no, at least the person that employed me as my Oga Patapata, so he knows that, okay, there are some things people and that we need to do for the physically challenged persons, which is also included in the policy of the organization. I can tell you for fact, right? So what are those things that needs to be put in place? Okay, a walkway for people living with disability, especially someone that is physically challenged, climbing a staircase of 2, 3, 4-story building, and it's not funny. Someone living with the blind, how is he or she going to climb the staircase down to the 5th floor, 6th floor, 7th floors? But in an organization that have lifts that help people to move from one point to another, and the people in that organization are aware that, okay, we have people with special need here. And so, okay, what do? Can we make the policy that will also align with their own mode, whereby these people, we give them a enabling environment for them to thrive, for them to develop themselves, for them to mingle around, not having that spirit of, okay, we put these people aside, these people are living with disability, so let us put them aside. No. But in BCI where I work, it is not that. So we see ourselves as family. I do my work diligently, and I'm happy with that.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Stephen. That was really explorative. Really appreciate that. And you have talked from the angle of, your organization that you worked with, Background Check International. Yes, shout out to Dr. Olu Bode. Yeah, I hope I got that right.
Yeah.
And yes, for that particular avenue that is created for youth with disabilities to come practicalize their skills in his organization. And like you said, there are policies in place, right, to ensure that you are included, not on a PT party, but on an equal base with every other person. And this brings me to the question back to Miss Jessica. What do you think are those policies, or do you think there are policies that exclude youth with albinism from attaining formal employment in Nigeria? What policies do you think are excluding youth with albinism, or you might even want to talk about female, right, with albinism from attaining formal employment in Nigeria?
Okay. So I don't know a lot about the policies in Nigeria, but I do know, because as I used to work in corporate, I've worked at the bank and a couple of other places, right? So I do know that there are human biases with people with albinism. Because I remember after my NYSC, when I resumed at the bank, a colleague at that time, the person was a manager, and the person walked in and was like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" I'm like, "Oh, I resumed today." Me, I was even excited. And then he goes, "So what? I've not seen your kind work in a bank before." And I'm like, "What do you mean your kind?" Because like it was just weird to me. And then he goes, "Oh no, like usually people like you don't." I'm like, "What do you mean people like you? Say it. Like say what you are thinking." I'm like, "Oh no, like, it was just weird to him." And then I realized that there are people that had those kind of biases, like, "Oh, you shouldn't be here," because they just assume that because there is a form of a disability that you cannot perform. But I'm like, there's nothing wrong with my brain. I don't think that that affects the work that I do. And I've also spoken to, like, I've had other people with albinism and other disabilities just tell me about their own experiences, basically just being shut down just because they have a disability, not given an opportunity to show themselves or an opportunity to show their skills. Just from seeing them, they just assume that, oh, this person can perform at this job. So maybe there are policies that actually affect, but I know that human biases is one of the biggest challenges. Because I don't think that is a skill issue. Sometimes it might be a skill issue, but most times is usually, human beings or the people in charge just shutting down the idea of hiring a person because they have a seeming disability that most times, if you even look at it, it doesn't even affect the work that this person is supposed to do. I can't lie, I've actually been privileged to work in places where I was seen as a person before, a disability. But I've also been in places where people are looking at you with one eye, like, can this person do this job? Can this person do this job? And then it's not until maybe you are probably doing, so you've done, proved yourself. You've proven yourself in one capacity or the other. They're like, okay. But yeah, and I know different people with disabilities and with albinism that are killing it in the workplace. And I'll say, apart from their skills, because somebody looked beyond the condition, somebody knew better. And I think that is an education issue. People just assume, and maybe because I don't want to speak for the people that are assuming, but in my own opinion, I think that is a thing of educating people. So if from schools they're educating people about disabilities and they know better, that, because you can't tell me that just because I have albinism that I can't do work. Like, I mean, it's not affecting my hands, it's not affecting other parts. Even if, so it's for me is, sorry, this conversation, it sort of pisses me off. It sort of pisses me off sometimes because,
Okay,
like,
I understand.
how?
I can imagine. I can
Yeah.
imagine because now I see like the passion. Number one, because you've experienced it and
Yeah.
you're trying to now having to reflect on those experiences and the
Mhm.
biases you get. Yeah. Do you know, it's really nice because I want a situation where most people feel like, oh, are these people staged? No, they are not. That's why you see that we have them here and you can see the passion, the fire that is about to unleash. But before then, I'm still going to come back to you, Miss Jessica. Before then, in case you're just tuning in, well, sit, grab somebody, tell somebody. Project Enable Africa, we're talking about the importance and commemorating the International Youth Day 2025. We're trying to ensure that you know what, there's a need for youth empowerment and the sustainability in whatever country you are watching us from, okay? Click the like button, comment, put down your questions. We will get to that. Share this video because somebody might just be somewhere that needs this particular discussion, okay? Have you done that? Are you ready? Because I'm going back to Miss Jessica because, hey, no woman, no world, all right? And I'm just wondering, as an albinism and inclusion advocate, thinking about it, the Sustainable Development Goal 5 talks about gender equality. Sustainable Development Goal 10 talks about reducing inequality. And the father of them all, Sustainable Development Goal 17, talks about the need for partnership. And I'm wondering, in Nigeria, we also have the National Disability Prohibition Act, which is like a domestication of the United Nations Convention on the Right of Persons with Disabilities. And right now, we're talking about the inclusion, intentionality of women. And I'm thinking, Miss Jessica, do you think the quota system has really benefited women with albinism in attaining both formal and informal, sectors? specifically on women with albinism, do you think the quota system has benefited, this gender and disability specific individuals?
So I believe that there's work being done compared to the last 5 years. There has been an improvement, right? But I also think that there's so much more to be done. While we're seeing inclusion in various aspects, I feel like every brand and like companies and organizations are just scratching the surface just so they don't look like they are not doing the work. But again, that's my personal opinion. Especially right now in the beauty industry, we're seeing a change. Oh, people are they're trying to include more women with albinism, but again, my opinion, I think it's just surface level. Because when you look deep, I believe that it's just for the optics, right? People are, you throw in a person with albinism, you throw in a person with some other form of disability, and they're like, we are an inclusive brand, but beyond all of the optics and the physical, there's not really been real implementation of, these inclusive acts, because you look at it in like, okay, no, I know that Lagos State is doing considerably better than most other organizations. That's even the one I'm more aware of. Lagos State has been doing, because the Lagos State albinism chapter, I'm aware that they provide they provide skincare and like support and training and all that to women and people with albinism, which I think is fantastic. But that is as far as I know. Not, again, most of the people or most of the organizations that claim to be doing all of this is just surface level. So beyond the pictures, beyond the optics, beyond the poses for the gram, I don't think that much is being done. There's an improvement. Let's say we're at like 10%, but like we have not scratched the surface at all. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Talking from the angle of someone who has lived, with albinism and has experienced the divide, the both side. So I'm tilting, I'm just wondering, talking about this employment, going to Mr. Isaiah. Are you aware of any youth empowerment projects that youth with disabilities can take advantage of, that can achieve a sustainable future? Because at the end of it all, under the theme Youth Empowerment and Sustainability that we are all gathered here today, are there any youth empowerment projects or that you can even suggest can be done specifically for youth with disabilities, and we'll be able to give a thumbs up that yes, Nigeria is heading to that sustainable, future? Any 1, 2, 3 projects that you can recommend?
Okay, thank you so much. Based on this year's theme, youth empowerment for a sustainable future, it is very important for us to empower youth with disability alongside with youth without a disability. In terms of empowerment itself, there are things that we can look into are like skill development, mentorship, and access to employability workforce. These are the 3 areas that we can look into. So, number 1, skills development. There are thousands of skills call for applications for skills out there, but the issue we still have is these people who are planning these programs. Do they have, are they planned, people with disability into the program? Like, are there policies that are being put in place to accommodate the youth with disability? Mentorship also, we see mentorship everywhere, mentorship, opportunity. Potential mentors who would like to mentor youths, do they also have that open-mindedness that they also, would not mind, mentoring youths, with disability? Then lastly, access to workforce is also another thing, is very important. So, employers of labor, when they are working towards, a new recruitment process, they also have that friendly disability policy statement, that states that this position, is also open for persons with disability, even with women. Basically, we are not there yet. We are seeing some of them, just like Madam, the previous speaker said. Most of these things are optic statements made out there, but in the real practical term of it itself, how many organizations do we see that are really, really intentional, about making this work and making this inclusive for everyone with disability?
Thank you very much. Intentionality is what I'm able to derive from your statement, which is a very, very true factor. And that is one thing that all organizations, individuals need to rise up to, because we need to be intentional at what we do. Talking about intentionality and the gaps that exist, moving the mic to Mr. Stephen, as a person with physical impairment, can you give us a brief, just if you're aware, in terms of the health sector? How does access to health or mental health services enable youths with disabilities to actively and effectively participate in the sustainable future? I'll go again. When it comes to youth with disabilities, recall you talked about your experience going to factories, going to different informal sector, just to even do menial jobs until you were
Yeah.
able to land, the verification analyst job. And I'm wondering, those period and now, how do you think access to mental health facility or services can help to equip youths with disabilities to participate actively in a sustainable future?
Okay, thank you. So let me start with the issue before I'll now say how it can help. So, and it has not been funny out there for people to gain access to right medical facility. And sincerely speaking, you go there, you want to see a doctor, and the doctor is not around, and so the first appearance was like, okay, what are you doing here? Someone living with an albinism, and they were like, what's this? Permit me to use the Yoruba word I will interpret. Kilele. What's this? What are you doing here? Like people living with disability, that there's a lot of time that we don't get those things. We do these things ourselves. We fruit our bills ourselves, right? And in a developing country like Nigeria, you will not get the best out of the youth. You will not get the best out of people living with disability, where they lack primary healthcare system, where they lack insurance to healthcare system, where they lack support to their healthcare system, right? So how do we now sustain this, or how do the government needs to help us, right? One, they should increase access to healthcare system. So for now, I'm having a joint pain. I'm feeling this uncomfortability. I just need to go to the hospital. Like, oh please, I need to see the doctor. I need to complain and the rest. And before you know, they'll give you protocols. You have to follow this protocol. Come today, come tomorrow. I'm like, oh hello, I'm living with a condition here. I should be able to get immediate access to medical attention, right? So increase of accessibility to that medical attention. Also, frequent financial support, right? So someone want to do a surgery, a person living with disability, or maybe a sickle cell disorder, and you go to the hospital and they're giving you bills, and you're like, how am I supposed to pay this thing? And maybe the person living with disability is just struggling to work, to earn a SME, and you are giving that person a bill of $1 million, 1.5. I'm like, how can you get this thing? So we have health insurance and financial support that will help the youth, and that will help the society at large, not just the youth, but everyone living with disability. Also, we should reduce the level of our stigmatization, like we use that word, because it's out there, even in the hospital, right? They'll just put you one side. You stay here. Let us attend to people that were able people. No. So the level of stigmatization, okay, now we say maybe because some states are kind of speaking out, people are speaking out. Like our sister said, people are speaking out now. we're also human, right? So it feels like, okay, and let's just accommodate them a bit. But deep down, it is not happening. It's just the surface, right? Deep down is not happening. It's just the surface. So let us reduce the level of stigmatization. And also, I would say, what are those policies guiding these people? Imagine me going to the hospital and I said, okay, I need this, and nobody's answering me. Then I can probably get a lawyer. I can report those hospitals, can report those doctors like, oh, I went there and you are denying me access to good facility. You are denying me access to medical attention. You are denying me access to my medication because I'm a person living with disability. So who is taking account of those people? So a system where there's no checks and balance, a system where there's no accountability, things will just go out anyhow and nobody to blame. So the best thing for people living with disability is that we'll do it by ourselves. Sincerely speaking, we'll just do it by ourselves. We'll fit our base ourselves. But in a well-developed country, these things are done seamlessly. Nobody is struggling. You just go, and because there are policy, there are rule-down policy that guide these things. So thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And it's very, very important that, hey, you listening out there, take some few points. What can you do as an individual without a disabilities to affect the lives of even persons with disabilities, or even you as an individual with disabilities? What are your take home from those youths with disabilities who are actually pouring out their minds as lived and professional experiences on the table? And I'm just wondering in my head, we've touched about health, we've talked about empowerment, we've talked about our lived experiences. And there is one thing which has become a pain in the neck of the Nigerian system and also youth with disabilities, talking about access to financial inclusion. And especially now that we have two entrepreneurs and even Miss Jessica as well on board, trying to imagine what has been your experience in terms of accessing financial inclusion. Let's start with Miss Jessica. If you are still here, are you still here with us?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I'm here.
All right, good. So awesome. Talking about financial inclusion, and thank God you've exposed us to that. You've worked in the bank before. Till today, as a lady with albinism, what are those barriers that you think can be mitigated? Or do you think it's not even possible? We cannot break that barriers when it comes to financial inclusion. Mind you, in 2010, just to give a flash to what we're discussing about, in 2010, the Central Bank of Nigeria, put under one of the principles, the banking and sustainability principles, which is financial inclusion. And I'm wondering, how has that been today? So your experience in terms of accessing financial, services, what has it been and what are your solutions to that? Over to you.
Okay. So, for me, everything boils down still to education. Because I think if you don't know better, you will not do better. Or no, you can't exactly be faulted for not doing better if you don't know better. And I think that we're living in a society where people don't know better. Because I've come across other people with albinism that even their own family, their own friends are the ones that limit them, that tell them, oh, you can't work in certain places, you can't aspire to do certain things, you can't. And for me, that on its own is a huge limitation, because if you're already conditioned to limit yourself, limits for how far you can reach, there's only so much that you can actually do, right? So I mentioned working in the bank, and for me, when because at that time I didn't really know a lot of people with albinism. Then when after I left the bank, I started speaking to other people, and I became aware that certain parents are limiting their children from using computers, from educating themselves, because they're like, oh, you have albinism, you wouldn't be able to use a computer. I'm not saying that it's going to be easy, or you're going to do it the typical way. But I believe if we are limited from getting skills like this, from building our skills up, from just doing or dreaming big, that on its own is already a huge limitation that no policy can fix, to be honest. So yeah, that's why I said for me education is super important, because it's one thing for the federal government to put out a policy. It's another thing for you, us, as the people that are being considered, to actually go outside and actually put in our best foot forward. And I'm not trying to blame anybody. I'm just saying that for me, the tackling the root of the problem is how we can get solution. Is how we can get sustainable solution. Is nice for you to first take a few people and provide financial support and educate. But then if you're educating teachers in school, if you're educating parents of people with disability, if you're educating the society at large, it's easy because I used to tell people that I'm very privileged. I'm privileged that I had a mother that was not limiting me based on my condition. To my mother, there's nothing that you cannot do. So in my head, I went out with that mentality. There's nothing that I cannot do. So even if I try and I fail, does not mean I don't do it afraid. I know that I can try again. That's why it was easy for me to. I've job hopped. I've left. Gone from one job to another. If I don't feel satisfied in a job, I'm moving to the next thing, or I'm trying to get something else. And
okay,
is that
awesome? Continue. We're with you.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get something. Even when I started my business, like I run my business online, and honestly, I've not tried to apply for grants, which I should. But I don't think that my condition. Yes, so I'm not like I make resin art, so that means I make every item that I send out. I make souvenirs for clients, and it's hard for me. I literally use multiple lights to make sure that I'm getting my details right. I'm doing things right. But then I've also come in contact with people that think that, oh, as a person with albinism, you shouldn't be doing that, because you can't see, you're straining your eyes, you are da 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 da. So before we even address the policies, we need to address our own minds as individuals living with disabilities. We need to address our society, because if you train a child to think that, oh, this is the cap to how successful you can be because you have this disability, that is literally how they're going to go into the world. They're going to pass that information to the next generation and the next generation, and it's going to move on like that. But if a teacher or somebody or people are better informed that, oh, this thing that you have is just a limitation, does not mean that you cannot surpass it or you cannot live higher than this, then they are going to aspire for more. I have friends that are investment bankers. I have doctor friends. I have photographer friends. I know people that they're actually doing things with their disability, and it's because somebody said there's no cap to, like, this. Your disability is not going to limit you. I'm not saying that the fact that this means that there are readily available opportunities. I'm just saying that it's just one step closer, right? Because first of all, even if there are opportunities and you don't think that you are worthy or you are qualified to chase it, you will not even chase it in the first place. So for me, again, I like to say that it's my opinion, so nobody come and say, oh, I might be speaking from a place of privilege. I don't know. But for me, I believe that if we're able to tackle our minds, we're able to tackle, the education system, the information that is actually out there, then it's going to be easier to, achieve financial equality. Easier. Does not mean
Awesome.
exactly easy.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's the power of a woman, tackle it right from the root, the education, right? Ensure that you empower the youth with disabilities, youth with albinism, build their self-esteem so that whatever trailer or truck or lorry that comes before them, they can do what? They can bulldozer it off. That is what Jessica is talking about. Is it the same way when we're talking about the physical impaired category? Back to you, Oluwasegun Stephen. What's your thought in terms of accessing financial inclusion for youth with physical or mobility impairment? Are we there? Are we yet to be there? What are those things that needs to be changed?
Okay. Are we there? Are we not there? We're not there, but we're getting there. Okay, I understand some states like Lagos State, they have some probably some sectors or some group of people that receives funds from the Lagos State to help them in such a way that probably to sponsor their skills and entrepreneurship. So right now, I noticed that we've not gotten there to the point whereby this is coming directly from the federal government and there's a strong policy. I still believe that once there's a strong policy backing it up, each state should be held accountable for everyone living with disability in your state. He said that in a place of education, they should be educated. For those that want to go into business, into entrepreneurship, please sponsor them. But the funds are not there now. Like I said the other time, people are just struggling for themselves. They are doing it by themselves. Like what my sister said now, she's trying to, she got all the light by herself, she did all those things by herself. Even where's the point, where's the avenue for us even requesting for grants? Sincerely speaking, the avenue is not even there. Even when you send the mail, even when you do this and do that, you still not get those grants. Please, I will appreciate, and I'll still say it again, let there be policy that backs this thing up. And some give those grants, like Lagos State. I understand there's a set of people that there's this community of people living with disability, the physically challenged, got those grants. So people doing shoemaking, carpentry, soap making, hairdresser, stylist, and the rest, and they got those grants, right? But like she said all that time, it's just a scratch in the face. So it's just maybe a time of what's it called? A year to election now. You see them doing it. Yes. You see them doing those things. Oh, they will go, they'll snap picture. Please wait it. Right? Happy? No. No, that is not what we want. After that election time, forget about it. It's the next 4 years. No, that is not. So they are looking, okay, yes, and we want people living with disability, come and take your card and vote and the rest. Once you see them taking the card, you give them Indomie, 10,000, 5,000. After that time, next 4 years, they're still back here. And these people, some of them are well educated. These people, some of them have BFC masters, and they're still looking for a job. And so they're okay, I'm not looking for a job anymore. I have a skill. I need to do this and do this. Can you please grant me what's it called? Grants, but there's no access to those grants. So please, I will appreciate if the policy can be so visible that people can see it and the grant can be accessible. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And you've really, delved into the discussion, right? And I'm still going to come back to you. Before I, continue with you, I would like to say very thank you to those who are giving us a thumbs up. Yeah, we see you in the comment section. We see you. Don't forget to share. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to do or tell someone about something that is going on today. We're going to be wrapping up in the next 6 to 7 minutes. But before then, let me go back to you, Stephen. As a youth with physical impairment, if you had to pick between going to the physical bank or accessing the fintech, banks, which would you prefer?
So
And why?
I'll take the online bank, right? So yes, I've had this experience with the physical bank a lot. So sometimes I'll just go for example, I'll just go into the bank and I want to withdraw. And the next thing, okay, please be on the queue. And the next thing I hear is that, please be on the queue. It's like, be on the queue. Can't you even see that this person is living with disability? Or they be on the queue and the rest. And that alone is a bit of, I'm not sure I could come here. These people does not even see what is happening. They don't even know what's happening, right? So I would prefer to do most of my transaction online. Even anything I need to do. I can't remember the last time I've been to a physical bank. I can't even remember the last time. But I would prefer the online banking compared to the physical bank.
Thank you very much. And that just get me thinking. I think a lot of people forget, even some legal practitioners, forget to say, forget to know that even in the National Disability Prohibition Act 26 talks about priority on queues for persons with disabilities. I think it's something we need to really look into. Not that, yeah, you go to the bank because you're a person with disabilities and you begin to become a rascal. No, but at least there are ways we could talk about this, where ways we could communicate or apply to people. And you see, you have shown one person out of your banking system. You never can tell. You can just have been bringing 10 million to the bank and you just lost a client, right? So, and let me, pass the mic back to Isaiah. Mr. Isaiah, as a person with visual impairment, have you had an opportunity to access any financial services in the bank premises? Is it very positive? Is it negative? And what are your recommendations going forward? Because I would really like to hear from you because you have a visual impairment, specifically blind. And I'm wondering, how is it like for you to access the services in the financial sector?
So much. Banking and finance services for persons with disability, most especially someone with visual impairment, is very tedious and mental stressful. Of course, you see some banks out there saying that they are inclusive. But today, I'm bold to say that no bank at all is inclusive for persons with visual impairment. So let's start with the challenges. So as visually impaired as I am, I walk into a bank, I want to make a transaction. And at times I hear statements like, oh, why do you come alone? Why don't you come with someone? That can help you come fill your form, fill the tellers and stuff like that. So of course, if their banking system is inclusive, they should have, something like a disability desk officer that will attend to my need at that point. Then, also, the online banking platform also, majority of them are not accessible for persons with visual impairment. With our screen reader and our mobile devices, even our computers, you want to do some online transactions on your computer, you struggle to even do simple transaction because most of their items are not labeled. They are unlabeled, and you don't even know what is what on their website. What about the banking applications? Also, the same thing. So this banking system itself, majorly for persons with visual impairment, is not accessible. What about other persons with disability? How many banks have ramps? Even the ones that have ramps, do they have the correct, accurate measurement for these ramps? It's not just to build a ramp. Of course, they are specific and a certain measurement for building ramps for someone on a wheelchair or someone using crutches. So you just say ramps everywhere, but most of them are not even still accessible for someone on a wheelchair. What about banking policies? So, for example, persons without disability have access to loan. For you, someone with disability, walking to a bank trying to apply for a loan, there's this perception or the kind of biases, this mindset towards you that, oh, what do you really need a loan for? Basically, not even asking the right questions. Or what business do you do and stuff like that? What are the viability of your business? You're paying back this loan. So it's the mindset, and there are many others like that. So just for me, I also go with Mr. Steve. I also prefer online banking. It will surprise you to know that most of these fintech apps, fintech banks, and fintech companies are doing so very much well for persons with visual impairments. So, for example, I don't know if this will give them a kind of an advert. For example, Opay fintech app is a very great app, to use finance services. for someone who is blind. Very accessible. Their app, you transfer easily. You do many other things, on their app independently, without not even asking for a sighted help to help you. And many other fintech apps like that. So if fintech app can make this possible, why not this bank have these bank industries, do the same thing? So, solutions to this is to ensure that their banking system is very accessible for persons with disability. Their websites, their banking apps, their premises, they have disability desk officer. So, for example, I think a year or two ago, a bank, a well-known bank in this country, launched a braille form. So what that means is that for them is that they're being inclusive, that someone who is blind can walk into their bank, pick up a braille form, and fill, and read, the information on that braille form and fill it. Then guess what? The question is, if I'm blind, I walk into their bank, I say the braille form. How did they provide me a tool or a method in which I can impute, my answers? If I get the braille form, my name has been asked for. Where did I put in that? So are we creating more barrier or more systemic issues for ourselves while we're going to solve one? But for me, what I could just see from that is that either the bank did not consult the right disability finance inclusion experts properly before going ahead to establish that in a braille form. So the solution is bank industry should always endeavor, as UN statement says, nothing about us without us. You can't claim to know what my need are, why you are not someone with a disability. So you need to consult me first. Consult people with disability. How can we do this better? Let's include us in the system, include us in the planning process. Then by doing that, you can be rest assured that you are solving most of these problems that are happening. In terms of loan and then funding, bank system should begin to have a kind of a special policy for persons with disability in terms of accessing loans and funding. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I could feel the passion. I could feel the fire. If you are being given like a now, you're gonna blow it out. I understand. I feel you. Thank you very much. And hey, kudos to all those commercial banks who are doing it well, and even the fintech bank. Yes, it's really, I must say, at this juncture, appalling, because I've had my fair share of experience as well. Several applications of this commercial banks are not accessible. Please, this is like a learning log. It's a learning process for each individual, both the health sector. We've talked about the financial inclusion process as well. We've talked about the education sector. We've talked about accessibility, the need for accessibility. I could recall one time ago, someone visited the Stanbic IBTC Bank in Abuja, a communication specialist, and he had to go live because the security hindered him from gaining entrance because he's a wheelchair user. And I'm wondering, why is this? And yet we have a banking and sustainability principle, I think in the principle 5 that talks about financial inclusion. Are we just talking about inclusion on the optics, level, or we are truly intentional about inclusion? And this is where our panelists have been able to talk about, yes, it's important. You say, okay, the development, the Western world are trying to be inclusive. Yes, you want to tick the boxes, but there is also the importance of intentionality. Okay, let your mobile application apps be accessible. Do not do a guesswork. Get persons with disabilities on your team. Maybe in a tea break, have a discussion, a roundtable with diverse impairments. Give them your mobile application, give them the online system, let them test run it to ensure accessibility. And hey, this is a clarion call to all financial institutes or even health sector, whatever sector you belong, to ensure you are intentional about it. It is very, very, very important. I'm just trying so hard not to call out some commercial banks, but I believe this would be a matching point for every one of us. So we've come to the end of this beautiful session. But before I let my panelists go, I will want them to give us about 2 minutes parting shots, right? Tell us what are your advice for youth with disabilities, because hey, it's not just about the organization, it's also about the youth with disabilities who are in or feeling this pain, right? What would be your advice for youth with disabilities out there listening to you? Let's start with I'll start with Mr. Stephen. Can we have your parting shot, please?
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. My last word will be opportunity means preparation. Opportunity means preparation. So, and you cannot give what you don't have. So as people living with disability, I will encourage you, please work on yourself. Work on yourself. Don't give up. The world will always celebrate people that ends well, right? But nobody celebrates one that gives up at the end of the road. Before getting to the finish line, please work on yourself, equip yourself in education, go for courses, things that you know you can access easily to build up yourself. I can tell you, there's ability in disability. Please don't give up. Thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Opportunities means preparedness. Okay, it's very, very important, right? So we're going to be passing the mic to Mr. Isaiah. Can you tell us your parting shots?
So youth with disability, remember that our voice and passion is what, is going to, powerful to a future that we crave for. Just like Mr. Steve said, for me, I believe, opportunity plus preparation is what we understand to be the word breakthrough. Is when you are being prepared, properly prepared, you are being equipped with the right informations, skills, and tools, and the opportunity comes for it. That gives you a breakthrough. So there's need for us to continually empower ourselves, even while society, really doing much. We should always put ourselves out there. What is the global stage now? Always seek for opportunities. Even when you are doing nothing, you can always, apply for, available internship opportunities and begins to learn and learn. Learning can never stop. So there's need for us to be out there so that the future we crave for will start with us. Thank you. God bless.
Awesome, thank you. And I tell you, do not go. Just hold on for us because I have very juicy opportunity and information for you. But that will be after, Miss Jessica has given us a parting shot. Over to you, Miss Jessica.
Okay, so both panelists have said, basically it, but what I want to emphasize on is don't limit yourself because of your condition. The truth is that nobody will give you an opportunity if they see your condition before they see you. Remember that you're a person first before your disability. You are not your disability. And I believe so strongly that there is nothing that you set your mind to do that you cannot do. So build yourself up, get skills, see whatever it is that you can imagine, you can do. Like I'm so sure of it. Again, I have friends that are medical doctors, that are investment bankers. They are doing incredibly well in their field. They are limiting their condition. So what I'm going to say to you is limit the condition. Don't let the condition define you. There is absolutely nothing that you cannot do. Nothing. So, yeah.
Okay, also, when you said nothing you cannot do, a song just popped in my head. There is nothing, things like that. Finish that song wherever you are. But, I told you about opportunity, just like our panelists have said, is Project Enable Africa. At Project Enable Africa, we are having some juicy learning opportunity for youth with disabilities. I might see you clapping. Yeah. All right, so there are some opportunities coming up for youth with disabilities in wherever you are, right? Very, very soon, in matter of months, we're going to be sharing it on our social media platform. Make sure you are liking us, make sure you're following us, make sure that you keep your tab at Project Enable Africa on all social media platforms. We have the digital economic project that is coming very soon. Because at the end of it all, remember, two of our panelists talked about online banking and online opportunities because it also limits, it makes them face those barriers and all of that. And that is also one thing we will be doing very, very soon. And guess what as well? We are coming up with an inclusive pathway system where youth with disabilities can also explore opportunities. And guess what? Are you guessing? It's not just only in Lagos, it's across states in Nigeria. Just watch out, anticipate. The only opportunity is going to come right at your doorstep. This juncture, I would like to say a very big thank you to our sign language interpreter, Mrs. Adeshida, who has given us a service to ensure that the deaf and hard of hearing individuals are able to understand what we're talking about. And a very big thank you, very, very big thank you to the media team at Project Enable Africa for ensuring that the lightning technical devices are all up and doing. And to all other team members of Project Enable Africa, I wish I'm wearing a cap. I'll just remove it and do a bar right now. Thank you very much to everyone who as well watched us across all over the country. My heart is so going out to you. We love you dearly. Until next time, do not forget, youth empowerment is important to achieve a sustainable future. When there is no youth, the nation becomes stagnant, okay? And always remember, when you are building a system, you build with persons with disabilities, not for persons with disabilities. This will definitely take care of the inclusion. Have youth with disabilities in the table. Let them tell you their challenges. Let them tell you the preferred solution. And I tell you, you are just one step ahead to being an inclusive system. Till next time when we come your way, I remain your one and only Oluwakemi Odusoya, who you probably know as Queen of the Eagles. And this has been from the platform of Project Enable Africa. We'll see you when we see you. Take care. All right. So guess what as well? We have launched the State of Disability Inclusion Report, right? We launched it in some days back. 2024 State of Disability Inclusion Report in Nigeria. And we are going to be playing that right now for your view. Get to know what the disability inclusion is about. Just tick, get candies, get water, get juice, and let's get cracking.
Our beautiful faces. For some people, we see regularly in conferences like this, and for some people, we're meeting for the first time. But it's a beautiful thing that has brought us together today. And I'm so glad that every one of us are here together to do this. As we start, we would honor this great nation, and also as a form of prayer, take the national anthem. So if you can rise with me, we will take it together as the media cues us in. And if you don't know the national anthem, especially for young people like me, who were not here when the first national anthem was, I think that we have it on the screen to help.